Welcome back to Guys Being Dudes. We have a very special guest with us today. This is head coach of the Menlo Football Team, Todd Smith. We have an amazing interview with him, so let's jump right into it.
This is how we do it.
10s, 20s, 50s, 100s. I'm a dope dealer, baby. I be counting money. And like you other niggas on my bloody cut. Can't bring it in the cuts, always never in the cut. What you mean she ain't got it? We ain't fucking like she got it. I need money out of pocket. You ain't ballin', stop it. If I got it, I'ma pop it. I'm in Mimas with my rocket. 30 hanging, I'm off.
Okay, and we are live. We should start the interview with Coach Todd Smith. We have some questions as well. Todd Smith was our personal coach in football. All 4 years for each of us. He was, I think it's pretty safe to say he was a pretty big part in our development throughout high school and, becoming who we are right now. So we want to get a good interview with him, ask him some questions about coaching, football, what it takes to be a coach and stuff like that. So we have some questions. You want to ask one question first?
Yeah, I got you. So my first question is, I know you've had like a lot of ups and downs with this administration and this program, but I want to ask like what led you to stick it out in those rough years, or like freshman and sophomore years, and then take the reins and lead us to our success.
Yeah. Well, I think
closer to the mic.
Sorry, we're gonna need you to get close to the mic. You
you
can hold it. Take
yeah.
out the stand if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. By all means, yeah.
Okay. Tyler, let's ask that question again.
All right, my question is, I know you've had a lot of ups and downs in your what is it, 9 years?
Yeah.
9 years here at Menlo.
Mm-hmm.
Between like our freshman and sophomore year, and then the great success we experienced later on. And so my question is like, what led you to stick with this program, even though it was kind of down in the dumps for a while?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is my commitment to you guys, and it goes beyond winning and losing football games, and that doesn't change with whoever I'm coaching with or whoever's my boss. So it's one of those things where I'm very committed to our student athletes, and the other part is I never thought I was better than Menlo. I never thought that, I recognized the great thing that's here, and I just was waiting for my time, and so I think it was a combination of understanding that I'm in a good place, and that I care about the people that are around me, and another thing, the last thing I'll say about that is something that I've coached you guys with is you're not always going to get what you want when you want it. So that was always in the back of my mind, and the people that I work with around me in the athletic department, I had a great respect for. And Earl was coming in, and I thought he was a straight shooter and a good man, and I could work for him. So things inevitably, like I tell you guys, if you just put your head down, your eyes up, things will work themselves out as they have.
So I had another question. So I know as a coach, it's very tough to balance the how much are you gonna go tough love, just say figure it out yourself, deal with it. That's how sort of life is. That's what growing up is, figuring out how to do things on your own and do it by yourself. But also, how do you balance that versus like support? And do when do you say, all right, this is my time to step in and coach as a football coach versus having the guy figure it out himself? I know that's probably very tough to balance as a coach, especially in a sport like football. So how do you best manage that?
Well, I think every athlete is a little different, so you can't treat it all the same. And although there's team rules and cultural, program values and principles that are for everybody, when it comes to coaching, football, I think it's very specialized, and I think your relationships and how young people are growing now, they're very different. So you need to take that into consideration on how you coach each individual. And so I think you can, as long as there is a very good personal relationship with the student athlete, I think you're able to juggle that a lot easy. If you don't have a very good personal relationship with that, then you can't navigate that as easily. So I think it all starts with personal relationships.
For sure.
Remember, keep the mic nice and close to your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam.
There you go, just like that.
That's great,
Perfect.
that's great.
Yeah, so I also had a question. You know, over like the past 4 years, you've had a lot of like great coaching staff. How is that process like? What do you like, besides like great coaching skills and like qualifications, what like personality like traits do you look for, and like do you look for people who are similar to you or slightly different? Or
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I have been blessed, and that's been a lot of work. If there's one thing that I think I've been able to do that has really benefited our football program is finding guys, the right people at the right times, and being very selective about it, and creating a bigger overall picture. I getting back to Judah, what you asked about what type of guys I look for. I look for people that are not complacent, and that I'm not always, I don't want a guy that's going to be a yes sir guy to me, or just going to go along with the status quo. I want a guy that is going to drive me to be a better coach and drive our coaches to be better coaches, and to have a say into what we're doing and bring something to the table. And that's not easy to find, because this area is really tough to provide for your family and create a career, and so you have to balance, like, well, how are we going to find guys that can dedicate time in the afternoon, and that's where the school's been great. They've afforded some luxury with that. So it's just it's a balance of what I feel is going to be good for our kids, good for our coaching staff, and good for our community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like you've done a great job just to add that, just because even like after the coaching staff leaves, we still like stay in touch with them, like have a great connection. Like Coach Dom, like he's having a baby boy soon, and we're all like super stoked for him and like congratulating him. So I think it's safe to say you've done a great job.
I appreciate that very much. And that's important too. I just want to chime in real quick before I get hammered by Sam Scola. That these relationships, they don't stop. With Coach Samuels leaving, and nobody wanted Coach Samuels to leave, but he's going to leave gracefully. He's going to leave in a place where he's going to do something for his life, and we support that, and I support that, and with all of our coaches, and them going different ways. It's not everyone. There's kind of a stigma of like, oh, well, a coach leaves and it's like that's a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I want coaches that want to do something with their careers here, and with the addition of Coach Hill and another coach, and Coach Zappis now being a full-time guy at Menlo, those are the type of people I want to surround myself. I want to surround myself and our kids in our community with career educators, career coaches who want to do this with longevity.
So my question is, just based on the group of guys that we had this year, not only our athletic ability and the way that we could run, catch, play defense, tackle, but also like the team culture and how the group sort of blended together. What was special about this year compared to your other 8 years here at Menlo?
What wasn't special? It was. I really think it started the year before. Right? What do you guys think? Is that pretty safe to say?
Yeah.
You guys
I
are
might even say sophomore year.
sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alone. We
To an
might
extent.
have now.
Yeah.
Right.
JV program.
That was
Sure.
on the JV.
And I-
culture.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that
and I
was-
got to be part. I got to be
Yeah,
part of that.
yeah. That was you who whipped our defense.
That
into
is
shape.
true.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You
So
were there.
You and Coach
yeah.
Atkins and Choppa.
Would've been-
Oh,
sure.
Harold Jackson. That's another guy. Like, what a great guy, right?
Yeah.
What a good guy.
Definitely.
And he's at MA. I hope you guys carry that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about another thing that got me through some tough times here with Tyler's question, right? I really dove into junior varsity football, and I never thought I'd would I love to coach junior varsity football, and I did. I remember I was coordinating 2 games a week, and building 2 plans, and but yeah, that's where our relationships really developed, right, guys? And boy, that was fun, right? Going undefeated.
So much fun.
You needed some winning that season.
What's that?
You needed somebody to get you some wins.
Yeah, that's amen. So I think it's, as it relates to the question as what was special, everything was special last year, and it did start when you boys were younger, and you guys were gelling and building chemistry, and we were all building chemistry, working hard for each other, and I mean that's just why it's so accumulation of hard work, right, and sacrifice, and that's what builds special things, right? As you guys get older and you guys build your relationships and have families, you know, it's going to be a special family because of how much dedication and how much hard work and sacrifice that you and your wives or is going to build together, and it's no different from football. This is a family. This is, you know, it's not always positive, right? Like there's some, but that's what builds. You know, if you handle and if you have respect and trust for each other, that's what builds something so memorable. And so there's a lot. There's not just one thing. You know, I mean, the Hollister game was just fantastic, right? Skull going bananas, and just there's so many small great wins. There's not just one moment, and that's what makes it so special. And I think as I see you guys and I talk to some of our other players, there's a different tone, right? Like now you guys even, and it'll be bigger as the farther that you're away from this program, the more special it should be, right? Because you'll start to realize when you're in the thick of it, right? You can't tell how special it is sometimes because it's work, right? Like we're all working and we're all trying to do this hard. We're trying to balance our academics. We're trying to get food in us. We're trying to get rest. We're trying to have, you know, a social life and be mentally healthy and physically healthy. So when you're in the thick of it, it's really, really tough. And that's where my job as a coach is to steer you the right way so that when you come out and we can have these discussions as we're having them now, you can feel how special that time was. But when you're in the thick of it, sometimes you don't feel that way.
And coach, I definitely agree with your point about how junior year was when that sort of like the feeling that we were sort of special started. I think because, you know, if you remember, like we were practicing for about a year without even knowing if we were going to play a game. You know, and we started our 5-game season in March, and we were practicing, you know, over the summer, over the fall. That entire first semester, we didn't know if we were going to play, but we still, you know, practiced hard every day. We still showed up to every lift, every, you know, on-field conditioning session. And, you know, that was sort of when I think like that trust started, that, you know, like the bond that, you know, where we saw that we could be special and that we knew that we still had to work, you know, every day for it if we wanted to be special. And then I think that, like, the sort of uncertainty, but also the certainty that, you know, we did trust in each other and that we knew that, you know, the you know, rewards were going to come for all that work. I think that was sort of a special moment. I think throughout the season, you know, even though there were so many tough times, that's when we sort of came through.
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, dude, those practices when they turn off all the lights except for the one,
Yeah.
and we just speed running.
Dude, that was my
We had to do
favorite
the,
practice.
It was nuts.
we had to do
In the rain,
like the
in the
Zoom meeting
rain.
too. We had to do the Zoom meeting to get
We were
to
standing in
like the
the
town hall.
and nobody talked about
this.
this. That one, right?
And
where
like
we
and the
stand in
lights
the
were
rain.
like freight trains. Remember, they were so loud.
Oh,
They
yeah.
couldn't even
Oh
be-
my
we
God.
never-
We
That was
just commented
terrible.
on that later.
That was
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah. Oh my god. What a season.
I had a question about like the way, like, I want to hear like your thought process behind like taking over, because you're like the only coach in my like athletic career that's been able to like raise not only like athletes but like raise the level of like maturity and like from boys to men type of deal, like within an organization. Like I've seen so much growth throughout like my teammates and even like myself, like on and off the field. And I'm just wondering if that's like something that you grew up with, like that blue collar, like that tough, we're gonna fight through this, we're gonna like apply this to all sections of our lives. Like, is that just something you grew up with, or is that like just who you are as a man?
You know, I think that's more from life experience, Ty, right? Is you know, just having a lot of great times, and then having some times that knocked me around pretty good, and knowing how to balance that, and after I, you know, took some short ends of the stick, so to speak, you know, how did I react, and just an accumulation of life experiences and things that I went through as a young man and as I grew and matured, and yeah, so I could relay those things to you. And I think what's also helped me is that I think I have a pretty good idea of how you guys are being built from our administration and from the rest of the school. And so what I think has been really helpful, even for me as a professionally, is to be able to balance those two worlds, right, guys? Like where, you know, the school is really magnifying your empathy and your sensitivity and your mindfulness to you know, not only just yourself, but how you build your relationships and those around you, and how to be caring. And then at the same time too, I think I don't have to I'm always gonna you know, mirror those thoughts and sentiments as our school does, but I think the school does such a good job of that I don't have to keep pounding that in you. I think that our teachers and our faculty and all, and you know, like I said, our administration do such a good job of that. I'm able to focus on the other part of building a young man that I think are very important, and that's when, you know, that's kind of the tougher reality part of life, and when you don't get the things that you want, and when, you know, and it's the balancing act again. You know, to give an example is, you know, I think the school does a great job of, okay, what's going to help Tyler Flynn? How do we get Tyler Flynn to the best place? What is going to be the best for Tyler Flynn? Well, at the same time too, in a team setting, we can't think like that. We can't think like what's going to be the best for Sergio Beltran, Plunge, Bubble, I know, you know, like the whole bit, right? You have to kind of think opposite, as not quite opposite, but you have to think about a bigger picture. And so I just try to focus on, as it relates to your question about, you know, in the encompassing learning that's going on with our football program, I really try to focus on things that that are different, so to speak, from what the school's focusing on, because I think they do such a good job of those things. I want to build you guys strong. You know, I know you guys are getting some great teaching in other ways from other people around your lives.
I know you mentioned earlier about the players and sort of when developing like a personal relationship with them is, you know, one of the most important things you can do. And you also mentioned
the most important thing.
The most, okay, yeah.
Nice distance from the mic.
And you were saying,
is that
That's right.
can you give me some
Yeah,
thoughts on
yeah.
that? What's the
Well,
centimeter?
that's how
Okay,
close
it's
you
just
are
so
to
you
me,
see
yeah.
Logan, like right
I'm
when
like
you're talking
on the
here,
mic,
it's
like
no-
my
no
mouth is
no
on the
no.
mic.
Yeah,
It's
there
a
you go,
little,
just like that. There you go.
yeah.
There we go.
Also, we could just use like
Yes,
the camera
Should my
audio.
lips hit the
It
mic?
would-
Honestly,
metal,
it's
like
been
that,
sanitized. You're
like
okay.
almost that
It's
close.
very clean. If you want to, go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't like
It is
make
clean.
out with it, but
I was thinking about it. So.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Alright, that's better. Okay, back to my question though. You mentioned how, you know, players have gone a little different from when you were a player and now you're a coach now. So I was wondering, like, what do you think the trend is with players? Are they, you know, maybe getting a little bit more sensitive, or, you know, or maybe an even bigger question, do you see you know, players today being more athletic, being more stronger, or is that you know, maybe like a myth, or sort of like how people think with more technology that's sort of happening? But do you see like a trend in players differing as when you were a player versus when now you're a coach?
Well, I think it's like anything else. It's just getting more specialized. That's for sure. But I think, you know, I think you're, as a coach and as a leader of the program, you're in charge of how you're building your players. You know, another great thing about this community is that I don't have to focus as it relates to specialization. Sometimes coaches at different places, they lose time and energy because they have to deal with academics or behavioral issues. Something that, you know, our issues aren't that, right? Our issues are, how do we get more guys to play? How do we get more families to commit? That the safety part of this is something we take very seriously, and the experience will be bigger than any liability that can come from what may or may not cause an injury, right? Like, so our battles are a little bit different, and it's as it leads to specialization and how players are different. I think there is more specialization per position, especially at the quarterback play, right? I think, you know, nutrition is a little bit different. That now, there's some certain things, and supplementation is a little different, and each family is responsible for how they feel is going to be, what's going to be best for them. But I think as a coach, and I'm inevitably responsible for how they grow and get built. And so yeah, our players a little bit bigger and stronger and faster. Yeah, they are specialized. I think the bigger issue, or the bigger difference that I see from players in the past, and even when I played, there's the mental part of it is a lot different. There's much more now with athletes that it's more of a mental thing. It's a cognitive thing that athletes are now exposed to a lot more different, social media and all these other things that can draw their attention. Players back, not only when I played, but even just 8 years ago, 7 years ago, there was less distraction. So distraction now is really a big thing that needs to be talked about, and you have to have a plan to overcome that. And you got to be, your time management, and you need to be self-disciplined, and I needed to, as a head football coach, I need to take that into consideration, that that's what coaching football. I've always said this at Menlo, this is the most gratifying place to coach, but this is the hardest place to coach I've ever coached football, because of how many different things that are moving pieces here that are drawing from your lives. And I need to be mindful of that, and I need to, I can't, back as it relates to back in the day, or even just a little while ago, there was less distraction, so you didn't have to worry about navigating some of those things. There's just so many different moving parts now that it's really tough.
Playing football at Menlo, there's a ton of academics to balance, and also just playing football in general. Social media now is a huge piece of the game. I know like a lot of Tyler, Sergio Scola use a lot of social media for recruiting as well. I know that's a part of the game. It's also when viral clips can be shown, maybe guys can be seen, but also there's so many distractions. If you're a big time name, you got you never know, one wrong post can lead you down, can lead you down the path you don't want. There's a ton of distractions. I definitely empathize with the mental aspect of the game, and how you have to, be sharp, not only physically, but mentally as well. It's a huge part of the game. It's tough.
Well, yeah, and you guys know how detailed we've been the last couple of years, with all of our plans on both sides of the ball.
100%.
That's in itself is a class, right? And then now you got a physical component, and then that social component, like you said, Logan. You know what the biggest thing I see with social, and I do this sometimes even when I text, right, is how is my communication going to get transmitted? How are they translating what I'm really trying to say, right? How many times have you guys left a post or did something on social media, and then you're like, wow, what if they think a certain way? And then that can take your attention from, and then the next thing you know, we're in buck drill or something, some type of physical, drill, and then I don't want you thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I'd like to say on this podcast, I think it's important for our community. There's nothing worse. I talked to you about the greatest thing as a coach to me is my personal relationships with my players, our players, and our program. The worst thing for me that I hate more than anything is injuries. I hate to see injuries. There's nothing worse than to see a young person work exceptionally hard, to be giving, to sacrifice, and then they get stung with whatever injury that is. So I make it clear to our staff and how I go about, and that's why we practice so hard, is that I attack injuries by being aggressive. I don't want any of our guys on the field and wandering around with their eyes, not knowing what they're doing, and for that split, and I've seen it happen here, for that split second where they're not focused and they're not disciplined, and or pre or post snap, they don't know what they're doing. I don't want that to be part of why that causes injuries, and that's also another reason why we work very hard in the way that we coach, so that we are aggressive and that we attack limiting injuries. We are not. I am not a football coach that is mild about or soft, so to speak, on, hey, we're going to play this way because we don't want to sustain injuries. There's a time to strike, there's a time to not strike, but the way you build your mentality and how you build a physical environment, you do that so that we attack injuries by being aggressive, not by being non-aggressive.
I mean, speaking from personal experience, that's exactly like how I was like able to prevent some injuries. Like if you're like saying, like, I mean, I guess mine was kind of a freak injury, but like it's in like that lapse where you just like kind of get lost for a second. Like if you're aggressive all the time and you're like hunting, like you're rarely gonna get like injured unless it's kind of like a freak thing. But yeah, I totally agree with that point.
Yeah, certain controllable, what we can control.
Yeah.
You also you're a whole lot, like Tyler said, you're a whole lot less likely to get injured, right? When you're playing timid, you're on your back foot.
Yeah.
You're not going full. That's how you get popped, right? If the hit comes to you, it's gonna hurt a lot more unless you bring the hit. When hits comes to you, I mean, you can get your head into it a lot more, right? Many times I remember freshman, sophomore, junior year when I was more timid. I didn't like playing defense as much, right? I didn't love the idea. I just wasn't a big hitter. I wasn't into it as much. I would catch myself sort of, it was like bailing out of a hit, like in tackling circuit when I remember there's a time when I got brought up, I think it was sophomore year. I was a little scared of Tyler when it came to tackling.
I'm scared of Tyler.
He's a much bigger dude than me, and I was carrying the ball as a tackling drill. Tyler was coming up to tackle me, and right when he's coming to hit me, I like turned away, and his head hit my head, and did you almost like get a concussion? He was like rattled. I don't know. It was terrible. He was hurt. I was hurt. I felt terrible. He was mad at me. It's a whole terrible situation.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little sophomore coming up onto the varsity team. You know, granted he was a sophomore, he was my friend, but it was not a good ordeal. And it happened because I was timid and I wasn't showing that aggression to sort of. It's a weird thing to think, like, be aggressive so you don't get injured,
Yeah, it's
right?
true though.
Play as hard as you can so you don't get injured.
So true though.
It is true.
Linebacker attacking circuit.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh my-
You stick your
For
face
sure.
mask in, it rarely hurts.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you
Like,
go timid
yeah.
and you
It hurts.
put your head down or like you just
Yeah, the harder
you're
you go,
standing
the
up.
less it
Right,
hurts.
and I think what we're all trying to say is that goes back to how you grow yourself mentally, right? So having a strong mental foundation so that you feel comfortable and confident about the physical contact that you're about to endure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about the mindset. Like, if you go at it in your head to attack every single thing you do, and be intentional about what you do and have a purpose, and like come into it with aggressiveness and positivity instead of something that you have to do. It shifts all you do. I mean, for me, it starts with the mindset, and then that comes into how I play physically as well. So that was something that I as I had more experience as a player, something that I was better able to master.
You've mastered.
Not mastering it, but I still have plenty of mastering left to do, but I've gotten better at it.
Are we holding you back this year?
I'd
Are
love
you
to.
being a senior?
I'm down to redshirt this year. I really want to reclass.
I
don't know. I'd love to.
Well.
Dang.
We'll master on the rugby field.
Yeah, I will. This summer. Watch out.
I believe it.
Watch out.
I believe it.
Watch out, you're gonna get hit.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's gonna be on the rugby pitch. That's what the pitch, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, is that what they call rugby?
Yeah,
They call that on
I think they
soccer
call it.
too.
Yeah, the pitch.
If like, makes sense.
If you
Ponder on that.
So yeah, just going back to what an earlier thing you said, Menlo's known for being a small school with like small number of players, and I know you also work a lot with the middle schoolers. So, do you find yourself like having to pitch football as a sport to like the parents? And if so, like what are like the main points you find yourself like using to like encourage these parents and players to
Yeah.
join the team?
Yeah. Yes and yes. So number one, relationship building. Right? That it's bigger than wins and losses. It's more than a sport. Number two, safety. Those work hand in hand. And number three, long-term experience. Right? Like, what are you going to get out of this long-term? Don't think short-term. And that's that's the battle here at Menlo, right? Is how do we get more guys? You guys know what is the importance, and this is hopefully when people listen to this, and you guys can chime in, like the importance of having more football players is not so that we can just win games. It's so that we can create environments that you guys are under less stress, right? Practice environments so you're not having to go both ways, and there's a circulation of guys doing different things because there's there's scout groups, and we can only, as coaches, we can only manipulate that so much. So yeah, those are the three core things I think that I talk to our middle schoolers about, and then when I have contact with middle school families and Coach, I will say this, Joe McDonald does a really good job of putting he's a believer in our football program. He's always believed in football, and I think more than ever he's been really positively backing what we're doing and how we're teaching it, and so he's doing a really good job of letting our young people know, because I think there's a big misconception about football, especially in this area, in this community.
I mean, the amount of young kids that are gonna benefit from going through a program led by you these next however many years it is gonna be crazy. Especially because we're in this relative bubble where you don't experience the tough times or the not getting it your way.
Yeah.
You don't really get put on your ass every day if you're just a Menlo kid. But football definitely exposed you to what it's gonna be in the real world once you get out of this bubble. I think that's crucial.
And how great is that, right, guys? How good? I mean, just think how great you guys have been built, right? You have all these great people teaching you, what we talked about, and then you're able. And that's something I've always respected about guys like you and former players here at Menlo is you guys are, I think that goes back to your families and the school here. You have such a good perspective, and you're very mature about how you see things long term. That's why generally Menlo students make very good decisions about their career paths and their futures with admissions and just their life path. And now if you guys can harness the strength that comes from now getting what you want when you want it. I mean, this isn't Amazon, right? Packages don't just come when you want them to, right?
We deliver the packages.
We deliver the packages.
6 days a week.
6 days a week.
I love it. Yeah. But that's great. Yeah, I think it's what I was trying to say as I've been babbling is what a good combination, right? And now what's really neat, I think, guys, is that there's such a good trust between administration and our athletic department. What's going on here, and getting back to those years with your first question, there may have been a little bit of hesitation because they didn't know what was going to happen, and now that I think a clear bridge has been built. So now we're building strong young men, thoughtful people. You don't have to be separate. There can be a common. You can work together, and that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to my brother about this a lot, and what he's realized as he's gone out of the football program, out of Menlo, is that Menlo, but also Menlo football in specific, just makes sort of a different type of person, a type of man. It's just because they've had the experience where like you said, you're not going to get everything you get, and you don't know how much you can learn about yourself and about life once you've been in that spot, and it's sort of something that only football can replicate as a sport, I think. No other sport can see you put on your ass, if you make one mistake. There's so much mental and physical thing that preparation that goes into it, and I think it's special to have gone through that experience because I know that when I get out of Menlo, when I get out of college, into my career, into building a family, that I'll still apply everything that I've learned from being a Menlo football player, to anything I do in life, and I think that's why the football player is it has this sort of reputation, but I think it's so much more than that, because it's not just a sport about hitting people. It's a sport about building trust, bonding with others, finding out about who you are physically and mentally, and it's just a super special program that I think often doesn't really have the sort of status or the reputation that especially at Menlo, but I think in general, I think the football is it's overlooked about how impactful it can be. I think that's super important to get to to sort of show to the prospective football players, the prospective Menlo students as a whole. It's an incredibly shapeful experience.
And you guys, as you know, I can talk tall and blue in the face, but inevitably you guys are most important ambassadors of this program. something that we talk about too is just telling the truth. Like,
Mhm.
telling the truth about what your experiences are. And I think that when you have a family or a young man on the cusp of, should I do this or should I not commit to this? I think those are the biggest things that'll drive them is your communication and your thoughts about your experiences and how you guys talk about your experiences through this program.
Mhm. That's a good question, Sergio.
So my question is about the team's 5 principles. We
What
talked.
are they, Sam?
Ooh, on the spot.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Principle number 2.
Work harder than anyone else.
Yeah.
No, we always do them together though.
Principle number 2,
Oh,
work harder than
oh.
anybody else. Principle number 3, care about it more than anybody else. Principle number 4, enter the draft. Principle number 5, love your brother.
Ooh.
Very good. What does draft? What is the acronym for draft?
Draft stands for.
Logan has it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
Go ahead,
so.
Beltran.
I like you go first.
Details, resolve, accountability, fortitude.
toughness.
Yeah.
Oh, Weddings chime in.
You got all of them.
Yeah, anyway, so those 5 principles.
Yeah.
First, how did you come about them? And they were really drilled into our brains, right? Every single day, before practice, before games. It's just constant. And it's sort of, a lot of teams have values that they want to follow, right? And it's kind of like, oh, like, we want to be truthful, let's work hard, like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But these principles, they had more meaning to them. And I'm just sort of wondering, like, around the school, people always say, like, people come up to me, like, oh, love your brother, huh? It's like kind of a joke for them. But for us, it's kind of like, it means something more to us. How did you, as a coach and the leader of the team, sort of instill these values, not only on the football field, but also, like, as people, and, like, create this mindset in us?
Guys, to be honest with you, you guys did that. I put together the structure of it because there were certain things that I felt were very important, and that was an accumulation of life experience, coaching experiences. Those are our 5 principles, but you guys did the rest. All of that stuff, I just created the structure for you. You guys built everything else around that because of your sacrifices and how hard you guys worked together. So, I just made sure that we were just like practice, right? We were continually talking about these things, and that we, like you said, we drilled it into you. But the meaning, guys, and this is really important, the meaning of those things didn't come from me. The structure did. The meaning of them came from you and your relationships with each other.
Yeah.
That's why they're important, right?
Yeah, that's true.
One more quick question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you hear that compliment from Sam?
Wow.
You'll get a kick out of this question then. So I've been asking around. There's been some rumors flying around about you regarding your chess game. Supposedly that it's taken a dive in the recent.
Let me. Where did you get this conflicting information?
The World Wide Web.
Interesting.
People are talking about you.
Yeah, clearly. I will say that my chess game goes very high, and then when I start not playing my best chess, I can lose a couple in a row to some
better players,
Eastern, Eastern European players that are very, very good.
Like myself.
Definitely not like you. Sam, I'm 39-0 against you.
I think it's 14.
Damn.
That's the correct.
You never, did you beat me
39.
one
I
time?
beat you one time, yeah.
Every once in a while
You gotta give one.
you gotta sacrifice
Yeah,
one
yeah.
so they keep
Yeah.
coming.
Wow,
They
yeah.
keep coming.
People are interested. I got a question.
Sure.
What was your favorite game? You're not allowed to say Benito. What was
You
your
can say Benito.
You can say
You can say Benito.
all your years at Menlo? What was your favorite game as a coach at Menlo? But you're not allowed to say Benito.
I can't say Hollister game.
Can't say Hollister. It's such a clear number 1, dude.
It is.
It's just such a clear one.
That's tough, buddy. I mean, guys, I really enjoyed a few ball games this last year. Right, I really liked our prep game. I watched that game. I watched that game not yesterday, the night before, and how we just outplayed. I mean, we just bottled them up. We were able to run the ball in the second half, Serge. Right, we have to shift gears offensively. Skull chops with the big tug. Right,
2D nice touchdown run too.
What's that?
2D's touchdown run on 4th.
That was a good. That was a good
huge.
run, right?
That was
good cutback.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good run.
That was a dogfight of a game.
Little shovel
Shouldn't
pass
have
to
been.
I know, it should've been.
great first drive. Remember that first drive?
Yeah.
Really set the tone of the game, and then I mean, their biggest offensive plays were some debauchery on the punt.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
fake punts.
They weren't even fake punts. They were just that shifty guy. Where is he going to school? Is that guy? He's fast.
Was
Is he a
it
junior?
Luis
He's 24.
Mendoza?
Senior.
Is he? Is he a lacrosse
Zach
guy?
Freer. No.
Oh, he's free hair?
Yeah.
Coach, you know what's crazy? I was literally texting the group chat all week about how, because you know prep just pulls that stuff. Those cheeky special teams fake plays to just just shift the momentum, and they're good at it. Like I'll hand it to them.
They
Like,
have their
It
punt
works,
team.
but it's gonna come. It comes every single level.
Yeah, their punt team, right? They do a really good job with their punt team. Logan may remember this, but do you remember when your brother's senior year,
Fake punt,
and then and it wasn't even a fake punt. It was we rushed it so well that he just
he just made a guy miss and then went to the
Made 3 guys miss.
Yeah.
you
One
remember?
twice.
Yeah, one. John Henry twice. Yeah. And so that's part of the game. Also, too, though, guys, I thought the Hillsdale game was a great game.
Yeah, that was a fun
yeah.
game.
They were a good football team at the time, right? And
What were your thoughts on
Good crowd as
Coach
well.
ACS wanting to kneel the ball? On the
that was
on
that
second and
was-
goal.
Hollister.
No, that was against
That was Hillsdale.
That was
It was 3rd down.
No, I thought it was like second.
I think it was like second down, second and goal on like the 2-yard line, and he tells Sergio to kneel the ball.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And what
Wow.
time of the game?
It was like third quarter. It was like
To kneel the ball.
it was kind of like a
What did
screw
we end
you
up
because
doing?
they were stealing
Call
our
timeout?
signs last game.
Yeah, we were going
Wait,
to,
did
and then
we?
we called the timeout.
Because Sergio
Oh,
didn't snap the
yeah,
ball. He was
yeah.
confused.
I
That
never
was
heard.
great.
I've never heard about that. I was like, I'm sure
I was
Austin had some thoughts
Serge.
behind
No,
it.
but the
That was like
game was
the,
sick though. That was a fun game to watch, and the crowd was loving it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
it
Great
was
crowd.
awesome. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
good football. How about that
Yeah,
defensive touchdown with the batted ball? That was
yeah,
Yeah.
That was neat.
For sure.
Yeah. I tell you a funny story with Coach Samuels is I never thought Austin would kneel the ball ever, and this was classic. We were in the Hollister game. Remember we were on like the 2 or the 1 yard line, and I can't remember 20 some odd seconds left. If you remember that, and
Yeah.
Austin's like, call the timeout, and remember I think he did this where he told you guys, okay, we're gonna kneel the ball. Right, and that was
Yeah.
our whole timeout, and then he jogged to the sideline. He's like, "We're not doing that." And then he signaled
then
in
he
plunge.
plunged,
Right? Let's
yeah.
go,
I remember
let's
that.
go. And I just started laughing. I was like, because I remember looking at him. I was like, "Wow, I never thought we'd kneel the ball on the 2 yard line ever." And knowing that guy, and sure enough, right, he jogs on over. No, and he signals it in.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Dang,
classic.
man. ACS, what a guy!
What a guy.
What a guy!
I think also
That was
like
crazy.
one
How's
of
he
my
doing?
favorite-
Is he?
He just finished his first preseason game.
Oh, he.
Yeah,
they
he
had
had
preseason.
he had a nice touchdown
Yeah.
pass. It was,
Did
it was
he have like
nice.
3 total?
Yeah, he had
So,
like
like,
3
dang.
total.
Maybe.
Good.
Yeah.
It's not surprising me.
I
That's
know.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the opposing
He's probably.
quarterback.
He's got to be coaching over there too.
Yeah. The opposing quarterback on the other team like follows his locked in account and like follows his like mechanic page and everything. So like after he was like interviewing him, I was like, yo, I appreciate
We
it.
have to show you some of his social media posts after. They're
He's
interesting.
gonna,
They're interesting.
Well, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He
Interesting
certainly
fella.
is. He's always got something.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
His
for
best
sure.
friend is like some 60-year-old German woman who has this like antique shop.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
No joke.
That's cool.
No,
Oh, that's
that's
pretty
very
cool.
serious.
That doesn't
That's
surprise
cool.
me.
It doesn't. It does not. It shouldn't surprise you. It's totally
Yeah.
I miss him, dude.
Yeah. Speaking of just, I hope you guys get a chance to develop a relationship with Coach Hill. Coach Hill's doing a great job. Losing Coach Samuels, clearly that's tough, right?
Yeah.
And we got some. I mean, how often, right? Faith is a big part of things too, guys. And faith doesn't mean like praying denomination. That to me, it just means, faith is just about letting go, like letting trusting that the work that you do is going to be turn out in the right sequence of events. Now, it not necessarily will guarantee you that your outcome at that, in the near future will be exactly how you want it, but faith and just having a trust and a sense of good thing. If you work hard, and good things will present themselves. So what I'm getting to is how neat is it that we can lose somebody like Coach Samuels, right? And then we get a guy like Coach Hill who, wins a state title, worked at a DubCal school, knows how to do it the right way, and has came in and has immediately started helping with a bunch of our juniors and recruiting, and had such a good impact. I'm really excited that we can, replace a quality person like Coach Samuels with another quality person like Coach Hill, and we've got some other quality coaches. Coach Juarez will be back with us.
Oh,
No way.
that's
Yeah.
sick.
I know, right?
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Coach Hill? Did you guys get to
Damn.
Serge
Vince?
and Sam? Did you guys get to know Coach Juarez?
Vince.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a backer coach.
Wait,
yeah.
are you?
Oh,
is he gonna be up at the varsity?
Yeah.
Oh my
Huge.
god, that's gonna be so.
So he's
fun.
gonna be backers. You're just gonna be just head coach.
Back in.
Okay.
I'll
Oh,
do
back
all
end. Okay.
these-
Recipe for
Nice.
disaster right
I've
there.
been,
Throw the ball on us.
I always watch those games when we were like our freshmen, or like even our like 8th grade before high school, and you two guys on the sideline just going up and down, like same energy, like pouncing on each other.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
so
gonna be
fun.
neat. I've missed him as a friend, and
Yeah.
he's a guy that I've built. I'll tell you what, guys, I've coached with some good football coaches and guys that are in some really neat places in the Midwest right now, and some local guys here and a little north of the bridge. But that guy is as good a position coach as I've ever been around. And Coach Zappis, as you guys know, he did a really good job, I thought, with
Yeah.
our front last year. And he's got that's not easy to do, to like switch cultures and so I think Coach Zappis is going to be not only a great football coach as he was last year, but he's going to be better each year as he develops not only his relationships with our kids, but sees how we flow with our practice script and how fast we move and that type of deal. And we've got a great offensive line coach that I will tell you about at a later date that's already committed, and there's reasons why I'm not going to share that information with you right now. But we've got some great football coaches for this year, and let's hopefully we can. And a few of these guys are career, quite a few of them are career educators, which are great, which means helps with longevity.
Yeah, and I mean also something that I've noticed about coaches just at like at Menlo is that everybody who coaches, I mean especially last year, I mean they love it here. Like I can tell, and like it's also like in a tribute to you, because I mean there's just something about the culture at Menlo, something about maybe the kids, I don't know, the coaches probably too. But I noticed this a lot last year. Like everybody loved coaching. Everybody looked forward. I talked to Lysette last year. He said the best part of his day is going to practice. Zap had the same thing as well. And Dom, just like I love talking to Dom every day. ACS I chirp with as well. I mean it's like I think like you could tell that the coaches and the kids had a genuine friendship, and the coaches looked forward to coming to practice same way the kids did as well. And that's sort of, I think, they work hand in hand with the culture, and how, people who look forward to doing this, it builds the culture throughout the entire season and throughout the entire off season. And like, I just think more so at Menlo than any other sport, Menlo football than any other sport I've had, I noticed that the coaches truly do love teaching. They love the kids. They love, everything about it. And I think that's another thing that makes the program special as well.
Outstanding. I'll just say one thing, and as you guys carry this to whatever parts of your life that can be influenced by this, and something that I've learned, and I'm really proud of that. I think I'm more than any personally, like like with how we've been winning ball games, and some of the numbers, schedules type stuff, like that's great. But I'm really happy about what we've done with our coaching staff. Something I think that's helped with that, Logue, is the trust, the immediate trust that I place with them, that I don't try to control them, right? And I think that's a big thing that coaches really make a mistake about, is that they hold on so tight that they get worried if this coach is going to influence this kid, and then they're going to lose control, right? And so I don't, when I hire a guy, I just think the largest impact they're going to make on this program and our kids, and I give them the reins so that they can be themselves, and they don't have to be perfect, right? I never asked any of these guys to be perfect. I just want them to be the best version of themselves. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't try to control our coaches. I let them be who they are. And if there's anything I can influence to you guys as you guys build your new relationships at Bates, Colorado, and Wisconsin, right, is when you build your relationships, don't try to control people, right? Even when it's your setting, right? Just trust them until they give you a reason not to trust them.
I mean, faith's what you're talking about. Just have faith in each other. I know that was what you were saying when I got injured. You were super adamant on faith. You texted me every day I saw you in person. You would say, have faith, and I took that to heart, and that's definitely helped me along the way.
And now you guys are about to win the CCS lacrosse.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Hey man, I know you guys
It's coming.
just catch fire, right? It's not about who's the best lacrosse team. It's about who's playing the best lacrosse. Right?
Anything can happen.
Anything can, and it should.
Yeah.
Right? And here we go.
Hell yeah.
Now Bellarmine, right? What to expect from Bellarmine?
I'm stoked for Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a battle for sure. It's gonna be lit.
We'll beat them.
We'll beat 'em, yep.
Fuck it,
We're
yeah.
gonna beat 'em.
No doubt.
Not worried.
You guys have anything? Any more questions? Anything?
You have any questions for us?
Yeah.
Just a statement, guys. How much I care about you guys. How much I want you guys to have success. I want this program and what you've learned to just shape you into a good man, right? And that more than anything, guys, that I hope you're gonna experience, and this is really a message to everybody in our football community. You guys are gonna experience something that goes horrifically wrong in your life that you are unprepared for, right? And your body and your mind and your chemistry are gonna go all over the place, all right? Just remember what you learned, how to be strong, and how to take a deep breath, and how to not make bad decisions, and examine the situation, and have enough mental fortitude to make a good decision, because those times in your life, guys, and you'll have a couple of them. I don't know what they are. They'll present themselves in the worst time, but they're game changers. And that's what this program I really want to influence to young people and our players, is that's what this football program is about. It's about those times in your life when you can't control what's happening to you, something extremely bad has happened, and your emotions and your mind are all over the place. Who are you going to be? Because that is where your character will show.
Definitely.
Amen.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, thank you to Coach Smith for taking the time out of his very busy day to have this conversation. We very much appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys. I care about you. I love you guys. I hope you guys knock it out of the park and Bellarmine and watch yourselves come Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's go,
All right.
right
We'll be stoked.
One last thing.
Of
I don't
course, Mr.
I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything.
No, why would you do that?
But before every practice of ours, you used to tell us an inspirational quote to just start off the practice.
Yeah.
Is there one that resonates with you that top of your head that you really fell in love with that we can end the podcast with? But honestly, we could have.
Yeah,
Tommy
Thomas,
Shelby.
let me get you a Thomas Shelby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get one for the road.
For the road.
All right, here it is. This is just a Thomas Shelby that is right in front of me here. Only you and you alone can change your situation. Don't blame it on anything or anyone. That's
Wise
just
words.
the one that
Gotcha.
it is.
Yeah.
And that's from old Shelby himself.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Coach Smith, again. Great interview. So hope you guys enjoyed.